Здравейте отново за последната презентация за деня. Благодаря на всички за присъствието днес. Надявам се, че презентациите бяха полезни. Сега един от най-добрите частни университети в Рим. Луис, като програмите ще ни ги представи Мария. Ние от миналата година работиме с този университет, вече има студенти там и вярваме, че е една от най-добрите опции в Рим в момента. Maria, you can start your presentation. Just to mention that the students should ask their questions in the chat box in order to have records of it. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everyone. So one sec, I'm going to share my screen so we can start our presentation. Okay. Okay. So as I'm sure Dimitar has already said, my name is Maria and I work at Lewis University. I work for the International Orientation Office, which basically means that my job is to go around with our partners like Skylines and talk to you guys and see whether we can be a good fit for each other. So today I'm just going to give you an overview of our university and of our programs, and then if you have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. All right, so I think you have already heard this probably earlier today, but just to give you a very quick summary of how the Italian higher education system works, so you know where you can place yourselves. So first of all, our students, Italian students, start when they're very young, just like you guys, and then they go through the whole process and they study overall 13 years. So there is one of the requirements in Italy, which is that students need to have at least 12 years of schooling. But in your specific case, there is no problem, you guys. I know that you guys all have it. So once you finish high school, obviously you enter into an undergraduate program. In Italy, bachelor's degree all last 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, you have two main choices. One of them is to keep studying and complete your academic career doing a 2-year master's degree program. This basically completes 100% your academic background. If after that you decide that you love studying and researching and you want to do a PhD, you can move on into that. Otherwise, if you do not think that you are that much into the academic side and you just want to have a shorter program that is a little bit more practical, let's say, that is specialized on specific topics, you can go on with a 1-year master's degree. Sometimes you can even jump from the 1 year to the 2 years. You can go through an MBA if you like, and then obviously and hopefully you land your first great, amazing job. So a few words about Lewis. We are a private university. We're obviously based in Italy. We're in Rome, in the very center of the city of Rome, and we are specialized in social sciences. So we have all programs that are around business, management, political science, and law. The university was founded in the late 70s by Confindustria, which is the largest confederation of Italian companies and enterprises. So the back then president of Confindustria decided to create a university that was able to train students that were then ready to enter the job market. And so we have very close relationship with the corporate world still now, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it later on during the presentation. So I don't know how much you guys know about rankings, but if you do not know very much, here is my first tip for you. It's actually very good and important for you to understand the main rankings, because this gives you the possibility to understand a little bit better where the university that you are trying to get into is positioned. And entering in a good university that is positioned well helps you afterwards, opening few doors that otherwise could be quite hard to go through. So for us, we rank first in Italy among private universities according to Il Sole 24 Ore, which is the main national ranking. The Department of Political Science is in the top 50 on the QS university ranking, which is the main international ranking. The Department of Business and Management is in the top 100 on the Financial Times, and we also have a certification which is called EGRIS, which is a really tough one to get, and only 1% of the business schools worldwide have it. I said before that we are a social science university, so we're obviously quite obsessed with numbers. I'm going to just give you, as I said, the quick overview, so we won't go too much in detail. But we do have 4 departments, which are the Department of Economics and Finance, Business and Management, Political Science, and Law. We are a middle-sized university because we have less than 10,000 students, and we do want to keep it that way. Being a middle-sized university helps us help you guys when you need it, so that you're never left alone. You're not just a number. We know you very often in person. If you are undergraduate students, we usually also know your families. Mostly you do have access to all the services, but also the faculty anytime you want. The student-professor ratio at Lewis is 7-to-1, which means that you can talk to your professors anytime. Among the things that we are particularly proud of, that is our abandonment rate, which is 0%. This is part of a very developed and structured tutoring service that I will go a little bit more in details about later on. But where basically students are not left behind. There is always a tutor to talk to. If you're struggling with the subject, you can just ask us and we will help you understand, where the problem is and then overcome it. So personally, I believe that Lewis bases upon 2 very big columns. One of them is represented by the international breadth that the university has. So the university is fully bilingual. You do not need to speak any Italian, 0. Of course, we encourage you to learn a little bit, at least the basics, because it's more fun to stay in Rome if you can speak a little bit with locals. But we started a few years ago now an internationalization process that you can see in many aspects, through the number of nationalities represented on campus in terms of student body, but also faculty, and also through the agreements that we have. So we have right now 51 double degrees, which are programs that allow you to spend 1 year in one of our partner universities and earn at the end of your degree 2 degrees with the same amount of time, one from Lewis and one from the other university. And then if obviously moving to Italy would already be for you, quite an international experience. But if you do want to have an even more international background, which is again super, supported from our side, you can go abroad in one of our partner universities through several exchange programs, such as, for example, the Erasmus program, which I'm sure you all are quite familiar with. The other very big column the university bases upon is represented by the relationship that we have with the job market. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier, the relationship that we have with Confindustria, that basically is an association for all the Italian companies, is obviously very supportive for us and for our students. So our alumni are 90% of them are fully employed after 1 year from graduation, and on average, our graduates land their first job only after 2 months from graduation. So it's rather quick. This means that obviously we do have a career services office that can help you, get your first internship. If you need to work on your CV, for example, even from scratch, if you are very young and you have never done it and you just don't know how to do it, that is not a problem. They can help you. They have a kind of online wall, let's say, where they post all the opportunities. They organize career fairs on campus where you meet HR people, so that, it's not just getting to know the company a little bit, but it's actually getting to an interview. These two columns are in a way put together by our alumni. Right now we have about 45,000 worldwide. They obviously, are very helpful in supporting the university. Here you have some of them. I guess you're quite familiar pretty much with all the brands. I'm sure, I hope that you still know Candy Crush. The CEO and the founder of the brand King is Riccardo Zacconi, which is one of our alumni. Of course, you all are familiar with Apple and so on. Here, you also see the symbol of the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I decided to put it there so that you could see, I could tell you that the university is in Italy, the one that has the highest number of graduates that then started a career in diplomacy. So if you are interested in political science, this is definitely, I think, a university to take into account. As I mentioned before, we are a private university, which means that in terms of services, you get pretty much anything you want. And if we don't have it, we really work very hard to help you and give it to you, even if we don't have it yet. So obviously it's not your case, but we do support once you are in Rome, if you need to register at the local police and so on, this is something that we can help you with. One of the main struggles that international students have, and your families as well, is to know where you're going to be, right? Like you are right there, you don't know, maybe you've never been to Rome, or maybe you have, but just as tourists, so you don't really know where you're going to stay. So we try to mitigate this. So there are two main opportunities in this sense. You can apply for a room in one of our dorms. The dorms that we have are all around our campuses. They are hotels that the university bought and renovated. So, the rooms are very pretty. Most of them are double. They have the bathroom in the room. There is a kitchen on each floor. They still have like all the hotel services, like the reception is 24 hours and so on. But if you do not want to stay in a dorm, or maybe you're simply not given one, because of course, we do receive way more requests that we can actually allocate. Then we also have a real estate agency that is called the Casa Luis. Casa in Italian obviously means home. And they can help you find an accommodation in a private apartment in one of the districts around the campuses. So it's in reality quite easy. I mentioned earlier the tutoring service, so I'm just going to be very quick about this. But to sum up, we have two kinds of tutors. We have the university tutors, which are the ones that get in touch with you as soon as you arrive. Every international student is assigned to one. And they can, help you understand how to book exams, for example, how the system works, how Rome works, where to buy tickets and so on. And then we also have academic tutors, which are the ones that instead help you if you're struggling with specific subjects. One of the core concepts at Lewis is sustainability. We are pretty obsessed with it. So if you ever come to Rome and you want to come visit and see our campus, I'd be happy to show you around, and you will see that on campus there is a plastic-free policy. So we have no plastic on campus. When students arrive, we give them a welcome pack with a backpack and a bottle that can be refilled in one of the fountains that are all around the campuses. What else? I said before that the university is fully bilingual, so Italian is not required at all. But as mentioned, it's quite useful to know a little bit of the local language. It helps you also understand a little bit better the local culture and so on. So we do offer free Italian classes for international students. They're not mandatory. You can decide not to do it, but it would obviously be very helpful. And then last but not least, people like me that work at the international offices at Lewis, we all have had international experiences as students as well. So we know that studying abroad is really fun and exciting, and it's a great moment to grow and learn and change. But it can be challenging sometimes, adjusting to a new lifestyle, settling in and so on. So if you are struggling with that once you're here, do not worry, just let us know. We have counselors that can help you, go through the whole process so that you can get back to just enjoying your international experience and just settling smoothly. I put here some pictures just so you can have an idea. I know it's not exactly the same as visiting the campus, but more or less. So we are quite lucky because we have 4 campuses. They are proper campuses, so they're not just buildings. They were originally villas that then the university bought or rented and renovated. So the first 2 pictures are from the main campus, which is where all the bachelor programs and most of the master programs are taught. And then you see all of them basically have a central building, let's say, surrounded by gardens that can be used pretty much throughout the whole year, as Rome is, the weather in Rome is actually quite mild. Every campus has at least 2 spaces where students can just enjoy, have fun, and so on. One of them is the language cafe. The idea behind the language cafe is that you exchange cultures, exchange languages, do not speak Italian nor your own language. And then I decided to put also a photo of one of our dorms so that you can have an idea of what the rooms look like. One other thing that Lewis has, which is quite uncommon over here, is the sport academy. So if you are a professional athlete, like competing, with the national team and so on, you can definitely compete for that, for joining the sport academy. And in that case, we also have dedicated scholarships for top athletes, which are, again, professionals. Here you see 3 of them, 3 of our students that obviously competed in the Olympic Games. And so this is obviously an opportunity also for you guys. If you are into sport, just, not at that level, but still quite involved, you can take part to some selection trials that we do at the beginning of September. You can join one of our teams. We have several sports, among those, obviously, soccer, of course, being in Italy. We have tennis, volleyball, swimming, rugby, fencing, horse riding, and so on. So if you are into sport, I guess this is also a very good idea. There are obviously competitions, with other universities in Italy and in Europe. So I think it's a very good way to get to know new people, other students that are not necessarily enrolled in your program. Okay, moving to the main core of the presentation, let's talk about programs. So we have already mentioned earlier that all the bachelor's degree in Italy last 3 years. We have 3 programs that are completely taught in English. One of them is economics and business, management and computer science, PPE, politics, philosophy, and economics. Obviously, they are under the 3 main departments of economics and finance, business and management, and political science. The program in economics and business also gives you a particular opportunity because you basically attend the first 2 years with all the students enrolled in the program. And then at the end of the second year, you get to choose your major, which can be economics, finance, or management, which means that if right now you're thinking, okay, I want to do finance in my life, I know I love it, but then, you start studying it and in reality, you find out that you hate it. That is not a big issue because you can still pick another major so that you get to learn the basics of each one of them, the main fields, and then you can decide being a little bit more aware of what is actually going to be studying and then working in that specific field. In addition to all the exchange opportunities that I mentioned earlier, for each program, we have specific opportunities, mostly through our structured partnerships, which, unlike the other exchange programs, allow you to spend a whole year abroad. So you attend, usually it's the second year, you spend the whole year in the partner university, keep working towards your degree, get back home, and then you can go on and finalize your program. The PPE program also has a proper double degree with Sciences Po Bordeaux, which means that you get to spend the second year in France, and then at the end of the 3 years, you earn 2 degrees one from Lewis, of course, and one from the other university from St. Paul. Regarding the master's program, we have tons, as you can see. They are all in English. For most of them, we actually don't even have the Italian version. So again, the university is very international. So the programs always last 2 years, and they are all structured in this way. So you have the first year in common, and then again, you get to pick your major at the end of the first year so that you can make a decision, having learned a little bit of the specific field. So you can study economics or finance, management, strategic management, marketing, global management and politics, international relations, law, digital innovation and sustainability, and so on. Pretty much all these programs, again, give students the possibility to do a double degree in case you want to go abroad, and again, spend 1 year at Lewis and 1 year in the other university. All right. So in terms of admission requirements, the process is completely done online. Our partner Skyline can help you as well if you need support with the application. The application process will start very soon at the beginning of November, and they will be open until the very last day of May. Keep in mind that after that, so June 1st, is not going to be possible to apply anymore. The application will be closed and there are no exceptions that we can make. So the details are actually still in process of being formalized and approved, but definitely you will be asked to share some personal information. So obviously, we need your curriculum, your details, and so on. We ask you to upload the most recent transcripts that you have. So if you apply very early, let's say November or December, you can upload the transcripts from last year. If you apply later on, like in March, you can upload the transcripts from the first semester. But in any case, we need the most recent ones. And then we need an email address of one of your lecturers, professors that we reach out to for getting the reference letter. And then, everything else is optional. If you have a language certificate, if you studied anything else besides English that you do want us to know, please upload the certificate. If you have any other particular certificate that you want us to be aware of, there is a section where you can upload it. One other thing to keep in mind is that the admission process changes based on what kind of candidate you are. So make sure that you pick the right box. If you have, for example, if you're applying for a bachelor's degree and you have an SAT or an ACT of 1,090 or above, or 20 and above, you may qualify for direct admissions, which means that you can, you have to upload obviously the official certificates. We will go through them. There might be an interview, but the process is way faster than the traditional one, let's say. And likewise, if you are attending a school that gives you an IB diploma, then also in that case, if you have credited grades of 30 or above, you may qualify for direct admission. So just make sure before you submit anything to, really read about in the boxes, the students that are supposed to apply through that process. Or again, you can ask me or you can ask Skyland. Same thing for master students. So if you guys have a GMAT or a GRE, you may qualify for the faster process. Just again, make sure that you read exactly what is going to be written in the boxes. And then last but not least, Lewis has a bunch of scholarships for international students only. Our scholarships are all merit-based, which means that, there is nothing else really that you need to do besides applying. Most of the students that are offered a scholarship obviously also go through the interview step. But again, besides picking your program, there is really nothing that you have to do. The kind of scholarships that we offer are basically four. They can be full and cover the full tuition plus the accommodation in one of the dorms and the canteen on campus. or they can be full and cover only the tuition, or of course partial and cover 1 or 2 installments out of 3. I just realized that there was no mention about the cost. So every bachelor's degree costs 11,600 euros per year, and it's in total 3 years. And every master's degree costs 12,600 euros per year, and it's 2 years. So I hope the overview was quite clear. I see that there are some questions, so I try to answer all of them, but here you have my contact details. If you need anything, if you want to have a one-on-one chat, again, feel free to just reach out to me, send me an email, or ask our partner Skylines, and they can, give you my contact and put each other in touch. All right, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Maria.
You're very welcome.
Do you want now to check the chat section and to see all the questions?
Let's
starting from Stella.
Do you have any master program with a focus on sport management, or is it mostly general management? So the master in management has 3 majors, which are international management, entrepreneurship and innovation, and fashion and made in Italy. So there is not a specific one in sport management, but we do have some electives and also some summer programs that are focused only on sport management. So if this is something that you would like to, learn a little bit more about, I think it could be a good idea to study management and then go deeper into that field, either through the summer programs or through the electives, because you guys have to have electives anyway. Do you offer opportunities for internships? Okay, I think I covered it, but the short answer is yes, of course. They're not mandatory because some students, not everyone feels comfortable, let's say, having it to deal with the study load and the workload. So we decided not to make it mandatory, but we strongly encourage students to do it, and we offer all the opportunities. They are there for you. We just have to ask and be proactive, of course. Okay.
There is a question in the Q&A, and I just copied it here.
Okay.
So that it could be rest in the history.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ioana would like to know what is considered for admission, all the components, and if IELTS Academic 7.0 is good enough for the English program. It's absolutely perfect.
It's definitely good enough.
More than perfect.
Right, it's definitely good enough. So please, if you're interested, upload the certificate, of course. The things that are considered for admission, so it depends a little bit also on the program you are applying for. If you are applying, for example, for a bachelor's degree, it depends. For example, if you're applying for economics and business or management and computer science, which are very quantitative programs, of course, the math score is taken into account. If you studied economics before, or statistics, or something related to the quantitative world, then clearly that is something that we definitely look at. If you are applying for a master's degree, what you studied before has to match what you are applying for. So if you studied languages and you want to apply for international relations, we can make it work because it has somehow a connection. But if you studied languages and you want to study corporate finance, it's going to be very hard.
And Mari Nakeva would like to know if you have bachelor programs in Italian in the field of international relations.
Yeah, bachelor programs taught in Italian about international relations. In reality, as I mentioned, many of our programs are only in English, but we do have a bachelor degree in Scienze Politiche, which is political science, in Italian, which is not exactly the same as PPE. The two programs are obviously a little bit different because the audience, right, the people that participate into the program are different, of course. So the political science in Italian also uses a lot of case studies related to the local reality, while the PPE is fully, completely international. But yeah, so that is political science.
Okay. And thing I would like to know if she can apply with an SAT result, and if so, are there any advantages compared to not applying with an SAT? What are the advantages? Yes.
Yeah, so it's that if you guys have an SAT and it is at least 1090, it's definitely better if you apply through the dedicated process for SAT applicants. There are several advantages in doing so. One of them is that the process is faster because it's on a rolling formula, which means that you get to know pretty much, you know, in right away, in like 3 weeks, you get to know your outcome. And so if you have not been admitted, you can focus on something else. And if you have, you can confirm and, you know, put your mind at peace so that you know where you will be going. The other thing is obviously that in Italy is not very common for students to take SATs. So the ones that do apply through it stand out. And if you do have a very good score, so above 1,250, that could also help you get offered a scholarship. Because, for example, we also have dedicated scholarships for students that apply with the SAT. So if you have it, it would make no sense to apply without it.
Yeah, and that answers the other question from Ioana, the continuing, the minimum competitive scores,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, 1,300 is considered to be pretty good.
Yeah. Do you accept IELTS?
Yes, of course.
What are the minimum actually entry results for an IELTS academic?
So on average, the students that are admitted have 6.5. That's more or less the average.
Okay. Vanilin would like to ask what is the housing fee? Mm-hmm. What are the housing fees? Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if you stay in one of our dorms, the dorm costs between 6,000 all the way up to 8,000 euros per year per academic year. And that includes, you know, basically everything like the bills, it's all included, the Wi-Fi, you know, the new utilities are obviously all included. If you decide to go, for example, through Casa Luis or any other real estate agency, on average, if you want to stay in a district that is, you know, close enough to the university and also like where, you know, there are things going on at night so that you guys can have fun besides studying. I think on average, a room costs about 500 euros in a shared apartment. Then if you want to have the apartment by yourself, of course, it can be 700, 800, or even 1,000. That depends on how big the apartment is and how close it is to the city center and so on.
Mm-hmm. And also, yes, can you type your email in the chat so that they could ask you questions afterwards? And of course. The next question, I think it's pretty much answered. What kind of English certificate is needed, like the accepted worldwide English certificates? So...
Right. All of them, basically. The Cambridge one is accepted as well. IELTS, TOEFL, of course. Some students are asking if we accept the Duolingo. Yeah, there was a question as well. Yeah. So honestly, given the complicated situation that, you know, the whole world is going through, it is something that we accept. So if you guys have that one, that's fine. If you have a certificate given by your school or your university that states your level, obviously, you know, through an exam that you did in English, etc., that is fine as well. So any kind of certificate that you have, feel free to upload it. If something else is needed, the admission office will get back to you and ask you.
Okay. Kusara is asking if extracurricular activities and internships taken during high school matter for the bachelor application process, and is there a list with accepted AP exams for a particular course in LUIS?
So in terms of extracurricular activities, of course, if you have done something and if you have like a certificate of participation or something that confirms and can be like official with stamps and so on, there will be a section in the application form where you can upload everything that is additional. And if it's connected with something that you're going to study, for example, you decide to apply for PPE and you took part to an MUN or something, that is something that we want to know, and our admission board definitely wants to know. Regarding the AP, so the AP are fundamental and necessary only if students are getting a US high school diploma. So if you are enrolled in an American high school that gives you the traditional US high school diploma, then you need to have at least 3 APs with a score between 3 and 5 in subjects connected to the program you're applying for. So if you're applying for economics and business, of course, mathematics, economics, statistics, management, business are all fine. If you are applying for a program in Italian, then you need to have one in Italian. One of the APs has to be Italian, unless you are a native speaker, of course. And then otherwise, we try to be as flexible as possible. But at least 2 out of 3 should be, connected with the program.
Okay, Nikolai wants to reconfirm if we have both SAT and IELTS, is that an advantage?
Yeah, for admissions, definitely.
Yes. Buongiorno from Marie.
Buongiorno.
Does the scholarship cover the cost of it, all the cost of education?
Yeah. So the full scholarships, yes, they cover basically the whole tuition fee. As I said, some of them even the accommodation in one of the dorms, in a double room, and the canteen on campus. So all you have to pay for is, I guess, if you go out and you want to do stuff, with your friends, that's obviously not included. But otherwise, for example, the studying materials and so on, they are given by the professors, or they are like PDFs, or there is the library where obviously you can rent the books. And then, of course, if you want to buy them, then you can. And that is, a cost that the student has to face. But most of our students tend to just use whatever the professors share on, the intranet that they have with the students.
This is very important to know, actually. What are the requirements to get a scholarship? You answered this. Maybe has not been very clear, but...
Yeah, so for 2022, the exact process for students and the specific criteria have not been published yet, but I can tell you again, it depends on the program you're applying for. So, and also what kind of documents you are uploading. One of the tips that I can give you guys regarding the scholarships is, if you are aiming at one of those, even if the documents, we say that they're optional, it doesn't matter, upload them. Make sure that you have everything. The fact that they're optional does not mean that we don't care. So if you want to, if you're applying only with the idea of getting a scholarship, definitely take an SAT, definitely upload an IELTS score, and make sure that they are obviously high enough, because it's quite competitive.
Great tip, thank you.
It's true.
Again, Kusara, if a candidate has an American high school diploma and plans on studying in English, is there a need to provide an English proficiency test?
No, if the school that you're doing right now is taught in English, obviously we don't need it.
And the continuation of the question is, can we combine AP and SAT scores with the Bulgarian Matura exams? This is the final exams for the high school diploma.
So if you get the local high school diploma, I know that the Matura is fine for us, like in terms of the Ministry of Education, like having a Bulgarian high school diploma, you can enroll in an Italian university. So as long as your school gives you, in addition to the American high school diploma, for example, also the local one, that's totally fine, because at the end you will get your declaration of value, which is basically the document that the Italian embassy gives saying that your diploma is fine, thanks to your Bulgarian high school diploma. The SAT, definitely, it's still on top because we assume that all our applicants who will graduate will take the diploma at the end. So the admissions that you receive are going to be conditional admissions. And the condition is obviously that you finish your high school and get the diploma. And if you are enrolled in a US high school diploma without the local Matura as well, then you need to have the APs as well. But if the school gives both the diplomas, then there is really nothing to worry about.
Yeah, thank you. Again, do you accept Cambridge certificates?
Yeah.
Yes. Here is your email. Any kind of extracurricular activities and clubs available at WIS?
Tons. Actually,
really?
see, we have tons. So there is actually, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. There is actually an office that is called ERS, that stands for Ethics, Responsibility, and Sustainability, whose job is to create extracurricular opportunities for students. Some of them actually give also credits. So sometimes students do them, you know, because they don't want to do the internship or they don't want to do the, I don't know, the IT lab and so on, so they can get the credits that they need. But some of them are actually very particular. So for example, on campus, we have like a greenhouse the students can work on together with local people from the neighbor. So like older people, so that it's a way to give back to society. They get on campus, they work all together, they get to know each other. So this is one of them. Before COVID, we had a lot of activities outside of Rome. So for example, we had an agreement with the Italian Red Cross and Amnesty International, and students were sent to Lampedusa, which is this teeny tiny island very close in Sicily, where migrants, you know, were arriving, escaping from the Middle East or from Africa and so on. And so students were literally like put together with the Red Cross, helping them. And, you know, they thought that they were gonna just look from afar, but in reality, they were involved into the activity. So there are different kinds of things. You can do just normal public speaking, which is, you know, more common, and it's something that obviously it's very good to do. But otherwise, if you want to get more involved, there are also these kind of activities, which are not for everyone, but some students like it. But the underlying idea is that you do something that helps you become better and, you know, make you a good asset for the society, you know, like because you guys are going to be the people that will be leading companies, big companies, and maybe even, you know, be part of government and so on. So we really want to make sure that you understand the society that is around you, besides the bubble where you are in a university.
Mm-hmm. And Ioana also has some other questions. For the Bachelor of Economics and Management, if an SAT score is not competitive, what things can help with acceptance? And then if I said a SAT score is not as competitive, is it good to apply with it? It is competitive, very much.
So yeah, if you have an SAT, any score is good to apply anyways, uploading it. This is why even like in the standard, let's say, application process, so if you have less than 1,090, we still have give students the possibility to upload an SAT, even if it's less than the minimum that we have decided to make, you know, to go through the other selection process. And again, it's because it is competitive anyways. And it's obviously, especially for programs like economics and business, it's important to have it because it's anyways a way of sharing with the admission board your quantitative capabilities. So it's definitely a plus.
Okay. Is it good to include a recommendation letter from a teacher? It's the motivation letter written, but it's a recommendation letter, obviously.
Yeah, so the recommendation letters, you guys do not upload it by yourselves. You just give us the email address of one of your professors or teachers, and then we contact them. The reason is actually very easy, and I take the chance also to talk about the motivation letter. So until like 2 years ago, we used to ask, the students to upload the reference letter and the motivation letter. But then we realized that both of them were obviously used for many, many universities, which is fair and it's fine. We know that you apply, for several universities, but it didn't tell us anything more. And so we realized that they were not as useful as we thought they would be. And so we decided to change this process into giving us the email address so that if our board needs to talk to one of your teachers or professors, they can talk directly to them, literally like calling them on the phone. If the reference does not get back to us, we let you know so you can inform your reference, because maybe the email goes to the spam, or they just don't know us, and so they are like, oh, who are they? Okay, whatever, is deleted, and so on. So same thing for the motivation. Instead of that, we do interviews. So this really gives us the possibility to learn more about you and understand in details why Lewis, why that program, how are you gonna, contribute to the class and so on. So it helps us understand if we are a good fit.
Okay. And another question from Ioana is about sports achievement. For example, Republican champion in rhythm and gymnastics, but no longer participating in competitions. Is that an advantage, and where and how it should be mentioned in the application process?
Mm-hmm. So in this specific case, for the sport part, there are like the two processes are like parallel. So the first thing that you have to do is anyways apply and be admitted to the program, because obviously we need to make sure that you are academically ready, right, to enter the university. Once you start the process and are admitted into the program, then I can put you in contact with my colleagues from admissions. We can put you in contact with the sport office, and they, based on the kind of sport, they have different moments throughout the year when they assess physically students. So they have like matches or competitions and so on. Especially if we're talking about like the pro athletes, so the professional ones. It's a parallel, I think that has to be done in parallel with the main one. And once you go through that selection process as well, then they tell you exactly the deadline when they will be able to get back to you, so that they see all the other athletes, and then they decide which one is going to get the scholarship. Because besides the scholarships that we talked about, so the merit-based ones and the SAT ones, we also have some only for top athletes that obviously have, particular services, tutors, and so on. So if you are an athlete, even if you do not compete anymore, but you still want to try, once you are admitted, you can reach out to me and I will put you in contact with the right people.
Okay. I just posted your email visible to everyone now. And there's a continuing question from Ioana. What things are you searching for in a student? What do you think are the most important things in your community?
So what we are looking in a student is obviously, the ability to adapt and learn. Change is a very important word for us, and it can be interpreted in a negative way or in a positive way. We want to see which kind of person you are. So we like these kind of challenges. We like students that are ready to adjust and adapt. And of course, even just, one day to study abroad, that shows that you guys are quite tough people to be so young. In terms of, what was the other part of the question? The values?
The most important things in your community. The values.
Yeah, the values. So in the community, I love that you use this word, because I really, really believe that Lewis is a community. We're not just like a university. I really believe that we all together, the staff, the faculty, the students, we really want to create and really care about this sense of community. So one of the main things that I really love about Lewis is that our academic model helps the students be competitive, but in a good way. We never, ever, ever put students against each other, which is instead something that unfortunately some universities do because they have decided to use a specific kind of grading system that, you know, makes students be extremely competitive. So when we have, for example, we're very practical as a university, like during the classes, you guys don't just listen to the lecturer speaking. We create like projects or groups so that you can actually work on stuff together. And even if, of course, there is some competition between the groups, which is normal, but it's never a bad one. So I think this is one of the main values that we try to share with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Maria. All questions answered so far.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the one in QA, yeah, we answered it live. Yeah, so if you have more questions, there is still an opportunity to ask. Now is the opportunity to ask. Otherwise, you will receive a recording of this presentation. You already have Maria's email. You can, I don't know, pile her up with questions.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Maria. Thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you guys for hosting us, and thanks to students for listening and for asking so many interesting questions. I do hope it was informative. And again, guys, if you need anything, feel free to send me an email or to reach out to Skylines. We, you know, we'll do our best to help. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks again. Have a great day. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.